Has any fighter's career ever been in such a good situation, or even a better situation than Max Holloways is right now? And this is often the hard part with MMA when you're having these conversations. It's easy to put out any sort of question and simply point to Conor McGregor, right? Especially when Conor McGregor, when he was returning from his Floyd Mayweather fight, he could have fought at 155, which he did, but he could have fought at 145, or he could have gone on and had a trilogy with Nate Diaz. Conor McGregor could have shot his shot in any direction that he wanted, and the UFC would have absolutely lapped it up. 3 massive fights that he could have jumped into, 3 main events, 3 pay-per-view spots, and he could have lost every single one and then continued on with his career. So I know it's very, very easy to take an athlete like Conor McGregor and put him at the top of the list. The fact that he has risen to, or had risen to, such a large point in MMA, he sort of sucks all the fun out of the sport when we want to have these in-depth conversations, right? But if you were to take Conor McGregor and just shelve him for a minute, much like he shelves his lions, just shelve him for a minute and let him do his thing over there in the corner. If you didn't have Conor McGregor, could Max Holloway have the best advantages in his career right now? Has any athlete's career ever looked as good as Max Holloway's does right now after knocking out Justin Gaethje in the last second of their BMF fight? Now, everyone is calling that the performance of the year, and it was an amazing performance, but go back and watch the fight, and it's a lot closer than you think, right? Max Holloway was not just dominating the entire time, okay? I know we were all blown away by that last minute of violence, to steal it from George Masvidal. That was beautiful violence. But Justin did win the second round on one of the scorecards, right? And he did win round 4. There is a real argument that going into that last round of round 5, it was 2-2 apiece, okay? Now, Max did absolutely turn it on in that last round and turn off Justin Gaethje's lights in one of the most spectacular knockouts we are ever going to remember, just for how epic that moment was. But now that we are here, post UFC 300, I'm going to paint you a picture, right? And I'm not saying that this is 100% going to happen, but this is a very real landscape, a very real possibility for where Max Holloway is right now in his career. And it just shows how he is in one of the best positions of any athlete we have ever seen, maybe apart from Conor McGregor, okay? So let's just say Max sits back on Hawaii, earns his over $500,000 just in bonus money, right? Put away his show money and the sponsorships that he's going to get, plus just the boost in popularity that he's going to get from having such a viral moment on a casuals card like 300, right? Just Max Holloway sits back and enjoys watching the Hawaiian sunsets, right? While Dustin Poirier goes ahead and fights Islam Makhachev, and Ilia Topuria goes ahead and fights Alexander Volkanovski in their rematch, right? Topuria has recently said that he wants Volkanovski next, and who can blame him? Right after the look on his face, after he saw Max Holloway starch Justin Gaethje, who was surprised that the little Spaniard is running scared. So Max just sits back, watches the fights, watches Dustin Poirier lose to Islam Makhachev. Dustin Poirier throws a guillotine, ends up on bottom, tries to get up, gives up his back, and gets rear naked choke. It's a script we've seen from Dustin Poirier too many times before. So Max just sits back and then watches that. And then, after knocking out the number 1 contender at lightweight at 155, and after Arman Tsarukyan had such a close fight with Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway has arguably put himself as the number 1 contender at 155. He has the best claim to the UFC lightweight title, and after Dustin Poirier is done losing to Islam Makhachev, Max Holloway steps right up and fights Islam Makhachev next. Now, I'm not going to call that fight, but just for the sake of argument, let's say that Max Holloway loses that fight to Islam Makhachev. Well, then we can now look back down to 145. Ilia Topuria is still the champion. And after seeing Max Holloway look human, Ilia Topuria has finally found his balls and said that he actually will accept the fight with Max Holloway. So Max Holloway loses the 155-pound championship, moves back down to 145 to fight for that championship, to fight for that title. Let's say Max Holloway loses that fight against Ilia Topuria. Not saying he will, I'm just saying, for argument's sake, let's say that he loses that fight too. Well, then Max Holloway is still holding the BMF title. And Conor McGregor, win or lose against Michael Chandler, is still one of the highest paid athletes on the UFC roster and needs to be either a co-main event or a main event of a pay-per-view to justify his paycheck. Well, Max Holloway, coming off 2 losses, now looks like a very, very approachable fight for Conor McGregor. So you see Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor for the BMF title late next year. That means today, Max Holloway still has 3 title fight main events lined up for him. And he could lose all 3 in a row and still be seen as one of the best fighters in the UFC. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to lose all 3 in a row. Max is 32 years old. He's absolutely in his peak as an athlete right now. And if we've learned anything from Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje, you can still go hard for 3 more years at 32 in what is probably the most competitive division in all of combat sports. Max has 3 good years of fighting left in him, as well as 3 guaranteed main event title fights set up for him. I can't think of any athlete in UFC history, and this is why I put this out there. Please let me know, and do not say Conor McGregor. Apart from Conor McGregor, has there ever been an athlete in UFC history that has ever been in such a good career position as Max Holloway is right now? You can have your pound for pound lists, your BMF titles, your greatest strikers, whatever little stat that you want to grab. He's never been taken down. He's never lost a fight. He's got a massive fan base in Georgia. He's got a massive fan base out in Spain. The kid's got a massive fan base down at the bloody bodega on 47th Street, right? Nobody cares about all of that stuff that the UFC promotional machine puts underneath athletes to try and keep pumping them up to the average sports fan just down at the sports bar. Max Holloway today is absolutely the king of the UFC. He can call his shot in any direction that he wants, lose 3 title fights in a row, and still be seen as an absolute king, right? Fuck it. He could lose all 3, and Volk's ego will still be so big that Volk will not admit that he's done. Volk can become a 50-50 fighter gatekeeper, right? Who doesn't still want to see Max versus Volk 4? Main event fight night headliner at a crowded arena. Give Max fans the chance to see him win, right? Max is Scarface right now, sitting in his office, just looking down at the world is yours. He can do whatever he wants. And that is some of the most rare air to be in across the board in all of UFC history. Let me know down there in the comments, what would you like to see next for Max Holloway? Put that down there for me. He can go in any direction that he wants. So how would you handle Max Holloway's career if you were playing Max Holloway UFC 5 career mode? What would you do next? Put that down there in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead, leave a like, leave a subscribe, click on subscribe. I appreciate every single subscriber over here on the channel. And of course, I'll see you all in the next one.